Hm.
Das sieht doch schon gut aus.
Das sieht sehr gut aus. Ich würde sagen, wir warten vielleicht noch so ein, zwei Minütchen und dann können wir auch schon starten.
Guten Abend.
Hallo,
Hallo.
wir freuen uns, dass ihr alle so zahlreich da seid. Wir warten noch 2 Minuten auf ein paar NachzüglerInnen und dann können wir anfangen. Also Julia, ich kann jetzt niemanden mehr im Warteraum sehen, ich
Das sieht
glaube.
gut aus. Dann würde ich sagen, wir starten erstmal. Wir können ja auch alle Nachzüglerinnen auch noch einfach so reinlassen. Genau. Dann beginne ich einmal kurz. Herzlich willkommen zu unserem heutigen Seminar Geschmacksvielfalt aus Südafrika, das im Rahmen der Fairen Woche 2025 stattfindet. Die Faire Woche 2025 steht unter dem Motto Fair Handeln, Vielfalt erleben, und genau in dem Rahmen haben wir das Seminar. Und der Veranstalter der Fairen Woche ist das Forum Fairer Handel in Kooperation mit Fairtrade Deutschland und dem Weltladen Dachverband. Und das heutige Seminar machen wir gemeinsam mit El Puente und mit Turqle Trading aus Südafrika. Und bevor es richtig inhaltlich losgeht, haben wir noch so ein, zwei kleine Sachen zur Einführung. Wir freuen uns, wenn ihr alle eure Kamera anschaltet, den Ton aber erstmal auslasst und wir das praktisch, genau, erstmal auslassen und sich nachher alle, die Fragen haben, auch zuschalten können. Wir sind eine relativ überschaubare Gruppe, da können wir das auch gerne dann so handhaben. Ein Großteil des Seminars wird auf Englisch stattfinden, deshalb gibt es auch Dolmetscherinnen. Wenn ihr das Ganze auf Deutsch haben möchtet, dann müsstet ihr einmal unten bei Mehr, da erscheint eine Weltkugel und dann kann man auswählen gesprochene Sprache oder gehörte Sprache in, und da müsstet ihr dann Deutsch anklicken. Und
Genau, das ist dieser Globe, wo Dolmetschen drunter steht.
genau, bei mir erscheint es unter Mehr, ich denke mal bei euch auch allen, und vielleicht können wir dann können die Dolmetscher einmal dann auch etwas, etwas sagen, damit wir wissen, ob es funktioniert. Und wer da noch Probleme hat, kann das auch gerne noch mal in Chat sonst nachher schreiben. Genauso wie alle Fragen und Anmerkungen. Wir sammeln, wenn es viele Sachen sind, die auch erst einmal im Chat, und geben sie dann immer nach und nach rein. Sonst gibt es auch nachher noch Gelegenheit, wie gesagt, dass ihr auch selber noch mal zu Wort kommt und man in Austausch tritt. Dadurch, dass die Gruppe auch ganz überschaubar ist, können wir das so machen. Das Seminar wird aufgezeichnet, nur dass ihr da Bescheid wisst. Und ich würde gerne noch einmal kurz was zum Thema Vielfalt sagen. Wie gesagt, das ist das Jahresthema der diesjährigen Fairen Woche. Und der faire Handel lebt ja von Vielfalt und unter anderem von der Produktvielfalt, die es gibt. So haben die Forumsmitglieder, die Mitglieder des Forums Fairer Handel, wo El Puente dazu gehört, Weltpartner, aber auch die GEPA, Globo und Banafair haben über 10.500 verschiedene Produkte im Sortiment, die aus mehr als 73 Ländern der Welt kommen. Da sieht man schon einmal diese Vielfalt des fairen Handels, aber auch die Vielfalt der engagierten Menschen. Das sind zum einen die Menschen, die hier vor Ort für den fairen Handel sich einsetzen. Das sind allein in der Weltladenbewegung über 30.000, und auch Produzentinnen weltweit, die im fairen Handel aktiv sind oder vom fairen Handel mit profitieren, sind es über 2,9 Millionen Menschen. Und der faire Handel trägt auch einen großen Teil zum Erhalt der biologischen Vielfalt bei, was natürlich in der Zeit von Klimawandel und dem Artensterben eine wichtige Rolle spielt. So sind allein 63 Betriebe Naturland Fair zertifiziert weltweit, und über 80% der Lebensmittel aus fairem Handel sind auch biozertifiziert. Das war jetzt nur so ein kleiner Einstieg, was euch bei der diesjährigen fairen Woche erwartet. Dazu gibt es viel mehr Infos in unseren ganzen Materialien und auf unserer Website. All die Zahlen, die ich euch genannt habe, gibt es als großes Plakat auch in diesem Jahr. Also wer da noch Interesse hat und ein bisschen weiter stöbern möchte, kann das gerne auf unserer Website tun oder unseren Newsletter abonnieren. Und heute wollen wir aber über die Geschmacksvielfalt im fairen Handel sprechen. Und wir freuen uns sehr, dass wir mit El Puente gemeinsam dieses Seminar durchführen und auch mit Turqle Trading, die uns heute über die Geschmacksvielfalt erzählen wollen, aber auch über faire Handelsbedingungen. Und ich würde sagen, wir starten und ich übergebe das Wort an Jette.
Vielen Dank. So, jetzt für alle, die gerne Deutsch hören würden. Ich würde jetzt anfangen auf Englisch, damit Rain und Peter, die aus Südafrika sich zugeschaltet haben, verstehen, was ich sage. Guckt alle, dass ihr euch jetzt umschaltet auf den deutschen Kanal, wenn ihr Deutsch hören möchtet. Wie gesagt, das ist dieser kleine Globus, ähm, der unten rechts, bei mir ist er unten rechts, mit Dolmetschen drunter steht, geht da in den deutschen Kanal und dann könnt ihr Deutsch hören. Genau, ich würde jetzt auf Englisch umswitchen. Also, hello everyone and a warm welcome from El Puente. We're very happy to kick off today's session with you, and thank you all for being here. At El Puente, we believe that diversity is more than value, it's a strength. And whether it's, the rich cultural roots or, of the products we offer or the stories of the people behind them or the variety of tastes that we bring to our shelves, diversity is really what makes our work meaningful. And today's webinar is a perfect example for that. We've been working on a brand new packaging design together with Turqle, who are here today with us, which will be revealed in autumn. So you can look forward to some beautiful, colorful, eye-catching product designs. They will be a visual reflection of the vibrant flavors and creativity and the character inside of each of the bottles of the sauces and also, of course, of our spices. But it's more than just a design refresh. As part of a broader conversation about diversity and representation, we've also taken the opportunity to rethink the language we use. That means moving away from product names that might carry stereotypical or culturally insensitive sort of connotations, like, for example, calling a spice mix Bushman, and instead we're choosing names that highlight the taste experience and not a caricature. It's part of an ongoing effort to make sure the stories we tell through the products are respectful and inclusive and authentic. And we're really excited to take that step forward with you today. I'm even more excited to have Peter and Rain here today to talk to you about Turqle. They will give you an overview of who they are and what they do. They will talk to you about their really delicious products. And I think with barbecue season heating up, there's no better time to explore how these really versatile sauces can spark new conversations and help, customers discover something really delicious and meaningful. And so I think before we dive into details, let's start with a quick icebreaker. And maybe you can all write into the chat what your favorite barbecue item or sauce is. Something that cannot be missing when you're doing a barbecue. Is it potato salad or A nice chili sauce. Garlic. I can see garlic. You can also write in German, and we can translate it for Peter and Rain. Curry, Kräuterbutter. That's herb butter. Chili, fruity curry. Baked tomato. Grillgemüse. That's vegetables on the barbecue. I'm really surprised there's no pasta salad or potato salad on there. Very nice. Well, with no further ado, I will pass over to Rain and Peter, who will also talk a little bit about barbecue, I guess. But first, they will introduce Turqle to you.
Good evening, everybody. We're just quickly trying to get our screen share and everything up and running. We're working from two different computers tonight, so if at times I appear not to be looking at the camera, I do apologize, but we had to make a plan. It's been Monday of making plans. Right. For those of you who have been here from time to time, you've probably heard most of the story before, but for those who've never visited Cape Town, we will just do a brief introduction to who we are, where we come from, and so on and so on. Turqle was established in 1997. Peter and I started the company. Our aim was never to grow a very large corporation or a big company. What we do is unique in the South African business environment, in the sense that we focus on being the compassionate interface between our trading partners and our producers. We have only 5 employees actually working in the office, but we work with 7 producers or factories or factory groups. We have about 165 active products in the market. Sometimes it's a bit more, sometimes it's a bit fewer. And around 870 people are employed at the various factories. Now, we don't own any of these factories. We simply contract to these factories based on recipes and things that we've designed. Peter and myself had both in the early days worked for alternative trade organizations. And one of the things that was always an issue was that there was a constant crush for funding. And there was one constant crisis on top of the other. Money was always an issue. So we decided when we started Turqle that we would have one aim, and that is to create a sustainable fair trade business. Right, we can move on to the next one. Perhaps the question that is asked most often is, what does the name Turqle actually mean? And the brutal truth is it actually means nothing. For when we had to choose a name for the company, all the names that we thought of had already been registered. So we actually got a bit desperate in the end. It was taking a lot of time from us to try and figure out names. So Peter's favorite color was turquoise and mine was purple, so Turqle. And we thought, well, we'll register Turqle and then we'll change it later. And now we're nearly 28 years down and we still haven't thought of changing it. So I think we're stuck with it. Okay, next one. Turqle is about great people stories. It is equally about good food stories. And ultimately, it is the stories of people who are very proud of the products they make. And I think that is the most important message that there is that the people really are proud of the things that they make. One of the things one notices when you walk into a factory, and that is, when you walk in and everyone's scared and they all look at you. And then after a couple of minutes, they sort of forget that you're there and they start laughing and chatting and making all sorts of jokes with each other. And the thing that strikes you is how happy they actually are. So, and it is this happiness that they built right into the food. So that is why we want our customers to come back, not just because they love the products and they love the food, but because it makes them feel happy too. Next slide. Right, 90% of our market is export. That means about 10% and growing of our market is a local market. It is a very difficult thing to break into the South African market with fair trade products because South Africa as a whole don't really see the value much of fair trade yet at this point. 90% of our business goes into Europe and the USA, and to make sure that we comply with all the EU and FDA regulations. It unfortunately means that there is a lot of stainless steel in the factories. There's a lot of white coats and there's a lot of clipboards. So most of the time, our pictures don't look very artisanal. People look at them and they say, but why all the stainless steel? Where are the artisanal? They're not there, I'm afraid, because the food regulations simply don't allow it. We also pack products in 2 different labels other than our own. And that is a custom range for a private label for El Puente, and just True Origin in the UK also take a custom range. And incidentally, they both redesigning at the same time. So life is extremely interesting on our side. Other than that, we have 2 product ranges in the local market, Cape Treasures and Akuva, and we supply these locally and also into Europe, the UK and the USA. And we also have 2 online stores, one in South Africa and one in the UK. And actually one that I forgot about, there's actually 3 online stores. There's a very active one in Switzerland. Okay, next one. The question that we actually get asked most often, so what does Turqle actually do? Because when you speak to many fair traders, they all say, but aren't you just a middleman? And it is very difficult sometimes to convince people that food is a very different conversation to craft. So we're not just a middleman. And I think what people are really asking is, what value are we adding for our trading partners and our producers? So Turqle is an umbrella organization. It means we provide the link between our trading partners and our producer partners. From an operational point of view, we buy the products from our producers and sell them onto our trading partners. And the reason why we do that is so our producers get paid even if things go wrong and we do not get paid on time. And trust me, it happens. Not often, but it does happen. So many of our producers, we pay on invoice, and the minute that we take delivery of the product, they get paid. If we wait 45 or 60 days for our money, that's our problem. The things we actually do include quality control. Exporting food to the EU means we constantly check compliances, and we are very vigilant on that. Freight and logistics. The last couple of years, freight into and out of South Africa has been a bit like swimming in a river with crocodiles. Every day brings a new challenge, and it's very rare that a shipment leaves Cape Town on schedule. In fact, it's probably a fight that is, when we started the company, we could not imagine it was going to get this difficult. Product development. We work with our producers and trading partners to create products that their customers want to buy. This sounds simple, but it's actually not, because each market is different, each product developer is different, and sometimes we design specifically for a campaign. Sometimes it's just because a particular buyer wants to buy something or has seen something that they actually want to include in their range. And we can actually move really fast if we have to. I think up until recently, we had a 12-hour record to put a new product on the shelf. And I think this last week with True Origin, it was literally a half an hour discussion to get a new product into the thing. And in fact, it is such a rush that we're going to ship the product unlabeled, and they're going to label it in the UK. That is how things can work if we want to. So we're actually fairly agile like that. Then there is the Fair Trade Trust, 2.5% of our turnover, and that is gross turnover, gets paid to the Fair Trade Trust, and the money is used for education. El Puente matches this contribution. It's a matching contribution in the sense that they match what their invoices, 2.5% of their invoices. And we are very, very grateful for this because it makes a tremendous difference. We also monitor fair trade compliance at our producers, and at least once a year, we have a fair trade morning, a fun morning at the producers' premises. For instance, this will include playing the 10 principles game. The winner gets a small prize. Sometimes it's a little sweetie or whatever. And talking to the producers about the basics of fair trade. It is quite amazing that in the time that you're not there, the number of stories that they start telling each other about fair trade and sometimes the unrealistic expectations they have of fair trade, and also just to bring them back to basics and say, this is what it's all about. This is why we're doing what we're doing. Then there's order processing and finance. This is pretty much the same for all of any business anywhere. You've got to process your orders correctly. You've got to organize your finance. It means placing the orders with the producers, making sure the customer-specific labels and packaging materials are available and of the correct specifications. And from there, monitoring the production process carefully, because you're bringing together a lot of moving parts. And the exciting thing is always to make sure that they match up perfectly in the end, and then they're nicely boxed and put in a container. We're also constantly in touch with our producers. This builds good relationships, and it helps us to spot when things go wrong. And believe me, they do. Every now and again, you think, right, we've done this decades. We know what's happening. The next minute, something goes horribly wrong. Right, Mr. Swart, next one. So, in a nutshell, in short, we are the soft interface between our trading partners. Most of our customers do not have the human resources to manage food producers remotely. So, for your customers, we add value because we check and keep checking so they don't have to. And I think that is a very important aspect there, is that because many of our buying partners trust us implicitly by now, they know that they don't have to check. They know that we are checking. Our producers also do not have the time and people capacity to interface with our customers, and often they need more practical support than most. And I think that is often where the sort of disconnect happens. You know, we will sometimes get a request from someone, can you get the producer to do this, or can you get them to do that? Make a statement, do something for social media. They can't. That is actually the brutal truth about it. They don't think about the things that way. So that is where we come into the picture, where we will say to them, try this, try that. Sometimes someone will even go out there and go and help them film whatever it is. We are all about managing the trust relationships, because that is what selling fair trade food is about. Our customers must trust us enough to eat what we make. And this is a point that one can't emphasize enough, because food is ultimately a contract of trust. Okay, next one. Like El Puente, Turqle is guaranteed fair trade by WFTO. This means we promise our producers and our customers that we, like El Puente, hold ourselves to the 10 principles of fair trade. In 2011, we made a commitment to spend at least 25% of our management time on work for WFTO. This is often a very tough tightrope, and it is a huge time commitment for a small company like ours. Okay, let's go. Our mind doesn't want to move on. It's frozen. Sorry, the one computer is frozen. Right, there we go. South Africa has a huge unemployment crisis, and unfortunately, it is not getting any better. And although we gain a couple of percentage points every couple of years, we also lose a couple of percentage points every couple of years. Officially, our unemployment rate is around 33%, but those who know also apply the job shrinkages where people are leaving or simply not replaced to the official estimates. And there are people of the opinion that even 40% unemployment is an optimistic number. By far the most frightening, though, is the 60% of young people who are currently unemployed. And of all the unemployed people, around about 40% of them are unemployable. That simply means that if you look at the little pie chart on the side, it's depicted as 15%, but that's the 15% of the 40% unemployed, which equates to roughly 40% of those. It simply means that their skills do not match the job market at all. And that is a great tragedy because most of these people are young people. And when we say young people, we're talking about people between the age of 18 and 34. Okay, next one. It feels almost strange to be telling such short stories, but hey, let's try. Turqle is therefore focused with the Fair Trade Trust on education because people with more education, better education, access to better schools, colleges, or whatever, or even tertiary education, stand a much better chance of either being employed or being promoted inside their workplaces or starting their own businesses. And that is becoming increasingly a trend, that people start their own businesses. 2.5% of the turnover, as we said, is paid to the Fair Trade Trust. And the Fair Trade Trust has 3 priorities: school fees, group training at the producers, and bursaries for individuals. Since 2003, the trust has paid the school fees of more or less 200 children every year. And some years it has been more than 400. And in recent years, some of the kids who have had their school fees paid in the beginning have gone on to tertiary education, and 2 young women have gone on to get really good jobs. And we must also say this, that the in-service training that people receive make them that much more employable when they do choose to leave their current positions, which is very good for them. Now I'm going to hand over to Pieter because my croaky voice has gone out of voice.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Guten Abend to everybody. I will start talking about the nice things, and that's the food part of it. But just to give a little bit of background on the food side. In South Africa, most of the spices that go into the spice blends that you are selling in your stores, they come from Asia because the climate in South Africa does not really lend itself to growing a lot of the spices, although we grow a lot of the herbs and things here. So basically, we sort of span from Asia through Africa, and in South Africa, we basically provide the people energy and the much needed jobs, as Rain showed just now, the high unemployment, the herbs, the salt, all the packaging, everything is from the local market. But just to be clear on that yes, things like pepper, we do not have the climate to grow pepper here, so that we have to bring in from normally either India or Vietnam. Just to illustrate as well, one of the most sort of important questions that we often get. Oh dear, no. There we go. When we pack a spice grinder locally, the spices and things may well be imported, but as we said, the herbs, the grinders, tops, the seals, the bottles, the labels, the stickers, the salt, the lab tests, the monitoring thereof, the transport, and all the people's wages basically are from local. And the price breakdown that we generally have is the producer price that we would sell it onto El Puente as an example for an average of €1.95, for instance, on a spice grinder. And the retail price in Germany would be €4.90. The breakdown of that is a very even sort of breakdown, that it is just over 60% or 40% that remains in the south. That's between where the spices come from. That one is not wanting to work. And
of course it worked. Just go back.
Yeah.
Good.
Okay, there we go. Sorry, technical problems. Basically, in that split with the 195 that remains in the south, 40% of the money remains in the south, and the balance in the north. But one needs to remember as well there is that the benefits to the south of packing here is exponentially so much more than just the costs. Because your cost of living, the high unemployment, all of those things factor into that. So every single product that we can pack here makes it that much more. The other side to remember as well, between the FOB price and the retail price on average in the normal conventional markets, you're looking at about 3 to 4 times that the price goes up. And the main reason for that is the minute that the product, when we load the product onto a ship, the minute it goes onto that ship, from there on in, all the costs are either done in US dollars for your shipping normally, and once it arrives in Europe, it's then in euros. So that is why the escalation is that much bigger than if you're just wanting to say, well, 195 and you double it or something, and that should be a fair price. It is because of locally we play in South African rands, and just to give you an idea, the exchange rate between the South African rand and the euro at the moment is about 20 South African rands for €1. So that is where the escalation basically happens. However, if we had to just send the bulk raw materials to Germany or wherever, and it is packed in the EU, then only 6%, which is essentially the price of the spices and the herbs that make up the blend, and a little bit of labor to make that blend up, only 6% of it remains in the south. So the difference there is 40% where if we pack it locally, as opposed to we send it out in bulk, only 6% basically remains. In cases, things like, coffee, tea, very often it just makes sense to send it in bulk and process it and whatever else in the EU. But on a lot of other products, it just makes so much more economical and human sense to do it at source or as close to source as possible. Right. One of the things that is for the spices. For the sauces, the chili love sauces, the barbecue sauces, the other sauces, we make them with local ingredients. So there it is essentially, other than the odd little bit of spice that also goes into there, everything is local. And we try and work with local suppliers as well that we know, that we worked with for many years. In some cases, like the chili love sauces, it's a farm where they grow the chilies. The processing happens on the farm. The same people that grow the chilies on the farm also process and pack the sauces. So a lot of the El Puente products are basically, yes, made with the local ingredients, like the Khoisan salt that you sell as well. That is entirely one of the best salts in the world, or that's our opinion in any case, and the sales seem to justify that. There's simply nothing like it anywhere else. And for those of you that have had the fortune to visit us or visit some of the producer partners that we work with and have been to Khoisan, will know how unprocessed and pure, basically, that salt is. The chili love sauces, as I said, they're made on the farm. The chilies are grown there. The people that make them also pack the sauces. Right, just to give you a little bit of a teaser. In your next shipment, you will have 2 new products. These are not the labels under which they go. Those are still in development, but basically we are going to be doing 2 balsamic vinegar reductions. We've been doing it for many years. It's top quality. Jette has loved them for many years. I tried to bribe her with them on previous visits. And fortunately, the product selection group have decided as well they like them too. They are top quality, really, really versatile sauces. The flavors are intense. The mouthfeel is exquisitely silky, and the depth of flavor can only come from real ingredients that are reduced to form these reductions. And that's another thing. In all of the sauces and things, the ingredients that we use are real. If we say there's sweet potato in it, we start literally with raw sweet potatoes, and from there on, it's processed for the sauce. But so these are 2 of the new products you can look forward to receiving. The labels, as I said, are not quite the El Puente labels yet. They will be part of the new branding of El Puente. But if you are curious, and this, I think, presentation will either be distributed to you, if you scan these QR codes that you can see here, it will take you to the food book on our website, which will give you a whole host of serving suggestions and recipes on how to use these sauces. But the sun-dried fig goes from a roasted pear and fig salad through to drizzling it over a steak and everything in between. Whereas the honey and rooibos one, again, is very, very versatile, from, as we're illustrating there, a blood orange and pomegranate salad through to so many different uses. But again, there will be recipes and serving suggestions of things supplied by El Puente for you to download once the products are in the market. The people that make the balsamic reductions, they are Cecil Vinegars in the Strand, which is about 42 kilometers from Cape Town, from where we are based. They are also the same people that make the El Puente Apfelessig. So you know them from that already. They've been making naturally fermented vinegars since 1936, so almost 90 years. So they know a thing or two about vinegars and about quality vinegars and how to utilize them. More than 100 people work at Cecil Vinegar, and the employees are encouraged to be actively involved in community projects. They're very active in the communities in which they work. So that is, again, an added benefit that we can hopefully just expand the number of people that will get benefits from the products being sold. The other new product, although in this case it is still sort of in disguise, you all know the chili love sauces and how delicious they are. So we are doing, and that will be it should be there just as sort of in summer, a gift pack that, okay, well, as I say, these are in disguise. It will have the four different chili love sauces, all in 50 ml small little bottles. So people can buy it as a gift or as a tasting set. And if they are scared to buy a bigger bottle, that they get the smaller bottles, they can test it out. And certainly in the markets where it has been sold, it has been extremely successful. And for those people that have their man caves, this is a perfect gift for the man cave.
What did
But
Mrs. Macron do?
yes.
Yeah.
But so those will also be on the way, and both the chili love sauces are getting new labels and new packaging, and the smaller version will also have the same. But it is a nice addition as a nice gift. Right, as I said, the chili love sauces will also all have new packaging. That's also in development at the moment. But just a few ideas of how to use the chili for your barbecue season that is coming on. The chili love sauces performs best as a dressing sauce. Once you've either cooked it or you cook it while you add it while it's cooking, you baste with it. Think of the ghost chili for hot wings. I mean, hot wings seem to be a really popular thing all over. Your chicken wings that are very spicy. So you can add that to that, or the lemon chili, lemon and garlic one works really lovely on things like grilled prawns or on fish dishes, and even vegetable kebabs. You just baste or pour over as a barbecue thing, and it's a nice summer food. The fermented chili is delicious on artisan-made sausages or grilled asparagus or other green vegetables. It really works really well with green vegetables. And the one interesting thing which should work well in Germany, we find people who love beer seem to love the fermented chili sauce because you have the ferment in both cases, and it is a nice accompaniment. Therefore, you have your barbecue with a beer and the fermented chili sauce. The smoked habanero is a friend of grilled corn. What we find there, it works really lovely. You melt a little bit of butter, you drop a few drops of the smoked habanero in there, a few chopped cilantro leaves, and you just baste once your corn, you've done them on the grill. And similarly on roasted halloumi, which you also do on the braai, and you just baste that. And what also works really well is this, so you melt a little bit of butter and then you put the sauce in, because that then provides a nice coating, and the fat in the butter sort of spreads the flavor of the sauce. Right, chili love is made by Fynbos Fine Foods. These people truly love what they do, and they take exceptional pride in their products. Every single product is done with love, with compassion, with enthusiasm, with the best quality. I mean, they will not send anything out, and they grow the chilies and everything on the farm. If the chilies are not right, they will not be used. Some of the pictures that you see on the screen here were taken last week. We had our Fair Trade Education Day when the people played the 10 principles of fair trade game. It's a card game. I don't know how many of you have seen it, where you play, and that's a way to teach people what the fair trade principles are and how they apply in the work that they do. It got so loud that and competitive that people from the office basically rushed over to see what was going on. It is amazing when you play this game with people, and some of them are the most quietest people. You hardly ever get them to say anything. But you play this game, and all of a sudden, the little hidden tiger comes out, and they are so competitive, wanting to win and wanting to show how much they do. So that is also part of it, but you can see from the smiling and happy faces, and this is what gets put into each bottle of sauce that comes to you. It is, as Rain said earlier, it is happy food made by happy people. Right, these are for those of you who love honey mustard, and it's been part of the El Puente range now for probably close to 2 years, or if not longer. They will eat it with almost anything. We have found people that put, I mean, I've had people, we've had people in Switzerland that put it on pizza. Whatever works for you, it is a delicious sauce, but as I have learned, two of the things that has to be at every German barbecue is Nudelsalat and Kartoffelsalat. So there again, you have a ready-made sauce that goes really with it. It's particularly well also as a dressing sauce for the noodles, for flame grilled fish, for potato salad. It's brilliant as a dipping sauce for vegetable chips, vegetable kebabs, or skewered fish. Flame grilled mixed vegetables, chunks of sweet potato, butternut, pumpkin, red onion petals, and small potatoes. Also just love the sweet onion sauce. You can either just put it straight on if you do your bratwurst and in a bun, you just pour that over, or alternatively use it as the dipping sauce for all the various vegetables and things. It adds that sweet, crunchy flavor. Well, curry ketchup, we do not have to tell you anything about that. It's also, as far as I understand, a staple in every German's home. and certainly during barbecue or summer season. But again, it works deliciously on the curry ketchup with flame grilled sausage, sweet potato wedges, as a dipping sauce as well. And the tomato ketchup, similarly, if there are any, and we've found that any small boys or small kids in general, but boys specifically around, tomato ketchup goes on everything. So everything, they will probably do it on everything. In South Africa, there's a thing called braaibroodjies, and that is, you'll see there's like a stack of bread with cheese and tomato in between that you do on the grill. And in South Africa, generally, well, certainly in the Cape, the area where we are, if you want to be taken any way serious as a barbecue person, as a man, if you can't make braaibroodjies, sorry, you will get laughed out from the thing. And even though in most cases, well, it's the woman who put the braaibroodjies together, but it is the secret of just for how long you do it so that you get the perfect grill marks and cheese and whatever else on there.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
that's the men's story, and they stick to it. But again, there your both the ketchup work really, really well there as a with them. Then we have the fruity curry, which I was very happy to see somebody put it there as they need to have it with their barbecue. According to our grandsons, you cannot have a burger without fruity curry on it. It is one of the best burger sauces or hot dog sauces or whatever, but it also works as well in a sort of Mexican type salad. And because it's got a bit of heat, it's got a bit of tanginess, punchiness to it. So it is, again, as versatile as you would like to have it. And we encourage people to experiment and come with new uses and different flavors for that. All of those sauces are made at St. Louis. Again, these are also pictures. The big bottle sauces made by them. Their production is a little bit more industrial than Fynbos. Fynbos is a lot more sort of hands-on, small, and on the farm. The reason for that is that they also supply into food service, catering sized sauces. They have a whole range of other sauces. These ones we developed specifically with them, the ones that come to El Puente. And they also supply some into sort of supermarkets and things like that. So it is a bit more, as we said earlier, stainless steel and white coats and lab equipment and things like that. But similarly, we played the game with them on Friday last week, and yeah, as you can see, great enjoyment and also the happiness and the love that goes into each of those products.
And they didn't get the police called out.
Yes. The first time we played the game with them, there was another factory next to them, and they just heard all the shouting and things going on, and they actually called the police and thought that there was something going on there. So this time, at least, that did not happen. And that is sort of just in the time that we have available to give you a short rundown of Turqle and what we do. But mostly, if you tell people one thing about our products, it is that they are made by happy people who are very proud of their products and the products that they are sending out to you. And every time your consumers choose one of those, the fair trade products, it spreads the joy from Germany all the way to Cape Town. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for your interest. And above all, thank you for telling our stories and the producer partners that we work with, their stories into a greater market. So thank you very much.